Did you know that the difference between having quality friends and not could be the difference between life and death? Let me explain. So, over the past few years, I have been researching loneliness and its causes and effects, and why it might just be one of the biggest issues that our world is facing. Loneliness has been shown to increase your risk of premature death comparable to that of smoking 15 cigarettes every single day, which is insane. That is really bad. 80% of youth and 40% of adults, so 80% of youth under 18, 40% of adults over 60, experience loneliness, at least sometimes. The levels of loneliness tend to decrease throughout one's life, increase as they get older. Like high for youth, low for the middle of your life, and then increase again as you get older. And now, why is this? Well, I was kind of thinking about that, wondering, pondering, and I think the obvious answer, at least for the youth, is social media and now AI. So we have these things that are very compelling illusions of connection, right? You have social media where you have, oh, I have hundreds of friends online. Or you have all these friends that you text with. You have this AI chatbot that is your buddy. But in reality, out in the real world, you might not have any close friends. In fact, I think it's something like 1 in 2 or 1 in 3 men say that they don't have any close friends. And that's just something that is heartbreaking. And what even is a close friend, right? Like, what does that mean? Well, to me, this means somebody that you can share authentically with, be emotionally vulnerable with, and don't feel like you have to change the way that you are, change who you truly are to be around. And that's something that might be very uncomfortable for a lot of people. I know for myself, when I was younger, I wasn't talking to my friends about the way that I was feeling. I wasn't talking about my emotions. That would probably be seen as gay. And I guess at 14 years old as a boy, that was an insult. I was like, oh, I don't want to be gay. But it turns out that, first of all, being gay is obviously fine. But being emotionally vulnerable is an incredible skill that can be acquired, that can be learned. And it is something that has improved my life vastly by learning how to do. So when let me back up a second. What actually is loneliness? Well, the best definition that I found is that loneliness can be described as the discrepancy between one's between one's desired and achieved level of social connection. So this is the social connection that you want versus the social connection that you actually have. Somebody which is different for everybody, right? You could have somebody who feels alone all the time and they're surrounded by people. You could have somebody that is alone all the time and feels completely connected, whether that's connected to themselves, connected to God, connected to whatever they believe in. So it's about the desired social connection that you want and what the quality of that connection is. Some people might want to be very close to a couple people. Some people might want to be sort of close or have a lot of a big social atmosphere, and that is what fulfills them. For myself, speaking for myself personally, I like to have a few very close friends, and I'm totally happy to have a big social sphere as well. But having a few people that I feel truly see me for who I am and that I can just, I hope you've gotten to experience this, but just getting to spend time with someone where you you're not really doing anything, you're just sitting there, but it's better than not. That friend that's hey, let's hang out. And then you hang out and you just sit on some couches and just exist. And it's just nice to be around each other. Now, that is something that I find very special. It's I want those friends to be around me, the people that I'm just comfortable existing with and around. And there's also the friends that it's well, you have to be doing something and you have to be talking about something or else it's just weird. And You know, I have some of those friends too, but I think, the depth of connection that increases with the depth of authenticity, of just like how human I can be around somebody. So now that you have a better understanding of what loneliness is, let me rewind back to where I was going. When I was 16 years old, I think I was 16, I went to this thing called the Global Youth Peace Summit. And that was it's not really what it sounds. It wasn't about global peace. But it was basically a summer camp where kids came together. Well, kids went to the summer camp, where the entire focus or purpose of the summer camp was basically just connecting with other people, making friends. And sure, you could be like, okay, well, isn't that the point of any summer camp, is to make friends and have a fun time? But no, we were literally learning how to take off the mask that we wear in society to be our true authentic selves, and to be seen for that and to be recognized for that. To stop having all of these barriers around who we truly are, what we feel, our emotions. And what it resulted in was developing friends within the span of a week that I felt knew me better than the friends I had had growing up my entire life. And I was like, something interesting is happening here. And now, after some reflection and some time, I think what was happening is I was being authentic, I was being emotionally vulnerable, and I felt seen and recognized for who I am, for who Kian truly is, me, Kian. And that's something that some people never have experienced before. They have never felt like they have been seen and understood, and that them as their authentic selves are accepted or recognized. And that's pretty sad. That is pretty heartbreaking to me. But I mean, the reason this matters, obviously, is because I think humans matter. And the fact that the difference between having quality friends and not having quality friends could be the difference between life and death, as I said at the beginning of the video. You have increased risk of all-cause mortality by being lonely. I mean, yes, probably by being more severely lonely. But again, and then as you get older, right? In Western society, it's you don't have the same, often you don't have intergenerational living. And so older people then get more isolated again. And it's so silly that something as simple as being around other humans, we're humans and we interact with each other all the time. But it's just, I guess, the difference between surface level and deeper, whatever, connection. So what do we do about this? How do we connect better, more authentically, more vulnerably, more emotionally open? I think the answer is very simple, but not necessarily easy. And that is to create spaces and to go to spaces where emotional vulnerability, authenticity, and simply being who you are is a precedent or a baseline and a norm. And one example of such a space that I have been fortunate to be a part of, beyond the summit and beyond my family, which I feel very loved and accepted by, is a men's group. And that is something specifically for men, but there are also women's groups. But essentially this was a space, or is a space, where men come together and talk about how they're really doing, to be emotionally vulnerable, to share what's really going on in their mind. And what this allows for is for people to see each other as truly human and to realize that they are not alone in the struggles that they are facing. Often, I feel like what loneliness is coming from is an illusion of, I'm alone in this. I have to deal with this challenge by myself. Nobody else understands. Nobody can relate. This is just something I have to go through. When the reality couldn't be further from that. Couldn't be any more different. The reality is that we are all human. We all face many of the same struggles and challenges. And a lot of people would be willing to support you, or a lot of people can relate to whatever it is you're experiencing. And simply by giving somebody the opportunity to listen, somebody else the opportunity to be heard, can be a transformational experience that brings somebody from an experience of isolation to one of connection. This is something I've experienced. This is something I have seen many of my brothers, friends, family experience. And all it takes is recognizing somebody, accepting somebody for who they truly are. But like, you need to be able to, so the tricky thing is, it's not like, yes, you can just go and say, hey friend, I would like to talk to you about my emotions and my inner state, because we haven't really talked about that before. So basically, like, I feel terrible right now and blah, 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 blah. Like, and explain, talk, what is really going on inside. There's an interesting framework for this called the PIES method, which is to speak about how you are doing physically, intellectually, emotionally, and then I think it's spiritually, socially, and sexually, or something like that. Maybe I'm getting one of those wrong, but like PIESSS. And to speak about each of those aspects of your life. And if you can do that with one person, and like really get those things off of your mind, somebody else is going to see a fuller version of you. The more you do that, the more you are capable of doing that and just being open and emotionally vulnerable at any given time. But being in a space such as a men's group where I have been, it's a space where somebody can come in not having done that before, and they see a bunch of other men doing that, right? They see other people who are comfortable in their own skin and able to share emotionally vulnerably. And it encourages them to do the same. So, I don't know, that's just a little bit about loneliness and why it matters. And I would encourage anybody who experiences loneliness to, like, give somebody else the opportunity to care. Because people do care. Humans are very caring creatures, I guess. But nobody is going to know what's truly going on inside unless you unless you open the door, unless you tell them. And maybe you don't have that close friend yet. But I think the more that you can be truly you, the better you will feel in your life. And you might not find those people that, like, you might not find your tribe, per se, immediately. But I think the right people are out there. Might take some time, but that's okay. And know that you are loved by somebody out there, probably by many people out there. So yeah, thank you. Whoever's watching this video, I love you so much. I hope you have a beautiful day. Goodbye.